Hello my beautiful watchers and welcome back to A Dome of Ice and Fire, the Lost in Adaptation spin-off all about how loyally the HBO TV show Game of Thrones stuck to the novels it's based on by George Martin. The usual warning of spoilers for all available books and episodes of the show. Right, let's just jump into this, shall we? It is so hot in this outfit. I live in California now. Cosplaying was a terrible mistake.
Quickly going over the new characters introduced for the first time in this episode, I have few complaints about Charles Dance as Tywin Lannister, aside from the fact that Tywin shaved his head in the book because he couldn't be bothered waiting for his receding hairline to do it for him naturally.
Game of Thrones hates baldness.
There's also a few other minor physical issues here and there, like Tywin's gold-coloured mutton chops and eyes, but Dance really captured the man's sense of presence and intimidation. Characters that would take the piss in any other situation couldn't help but be cowed by his overwhelming force of personality. Eddard confronting Cersei about Jaime being the father of her children, attempting to give her a chance to escape before he tells Robert when he finally gets back from hunting for the sake of her children, as he's worried Robert might do something terrible to them when he finds out they're not his. Cersei title dropping the Game of Thrones that you have to win or you die. Robert being brought back to King's Landing mortally wounded, having gotten shit-faced while hunting and gouged by the huge boar he was killing. Robert dictating his last will to Ned, making him the ruling regent until his son Joffrey comes of age, and Eddard subtly switching out Joffrey's name on it with a more vague reference to an heir, knowing that he planned to reveal Joffrey's true lineage once Robert snuffed it. Varys' not-so-subtle hint that Robert's squire, Lancel Lannister, had gotten Robert drunk on purpose so he would get himself killed. Jon Snow and some of the others being given a speech by Lord Commander Mormont about becoming Brothers of the Night's Watch, with an offer that any of them could leave right now before taking their oaths if they wanted to. No one taking him up on this because for most of them that meant going back to prison or getting their hands cut off or a bunch of other horrible punishments for their crimes. Jon discovering that he was going to become a steward, not a ranger, and assigned to be Lord Mormont's personal servant, something he was pretty pissed about, assuming Alistair Thorne was playing silly buggers with him, until Sam makes him realise that Mormont wants him around so he can train him to be his replacement. Jon going beyond the wall to say his oath before a weirwood tree as per his old god religion, and Sam coming too, partly to stick it to the gods of his douchebag father, but I assume mostly to keep Jon company because he's a good mate. Ghost putting a bit of a downer on the occasion by turning up with a twitching hand of an other's thrall in his jaws. Despite Daenerys' insistence of its importance, Khal Drogo not being particularly interested in invading Westeros and taking the Iron Throne for his son-to-be. Dany going to chill in the Vaes Dothrak marketplace with Jorah, who says he's going to go and check if they've got any mail. A charismatic wine merchant getting excited about her status as the last Targaryen and offering her a free bowl of wine. A suddenly reappeared Jorah demanding that he drink some first, resulting in the merchant cheesing it, proving it was poisoned. An enraged Drogo pledging to conquer Westeros and do all manner of horrible things to the people in charge there in response to this attempt on his beloved wife and future child, then executing the would-be assassin by tying him to the back of Daenerys' horse to die of exhaustion or be dragged to death. Renly Baratheon approaching Lord Stark and offering to help him subdue Cersei and Joffrey in exchange for Ned supporting his claim to the throne, something Eddard stubbornly refuses to do because technically his elder brother Stannis Baratheon is next in line. Eddard writing a letter to Stannis to this effect. Oh hey, look, the seal on that letter is a bit more book accurate than the usual Stark sigil. That's weird. Littlefinger also telling Ned he should ignore Robert's last request and the right of succession and crown Joffrey, as together he and Ned could get rid of Stannis and Cersei and manipulate the boy to rule how they want, with exposing his bastard status as a backup plan if he got out of line, another plan that Eddard rejects due to his iron-hard sense of personal honour. Instead, asking Baelish to get the City Watch on his side so he can take Cersei and Joffrey off the Iron Throne by force while he awaits Stannis' arrival. Joffrey predictably summoning Ned to pledge loyalty, finding out Renly has already legged it back to Storm's End, Cersei showing no interest in Robert's posthumous instructions, the City Watch turning on the Starks, and Baelish holding a knife to Ned's throat.
I did warn you not to trust me.
The episode's opening scene of Tywin Lannister giving Jaime a dressing down for both attacking Eddard in the first place and then not finishing him off when he was down, then putting him in charge of half of their army and sending him off to attack Riverrun is show only. Tywin wasn't originally introduced in the books until Tyrion met up with him after his escape. The rather graphic imagery of someone casually talking while skinning a deer is borrowed from the described scene when Sam's father, Lord Tarly, told him he was forcing him to join the Night's Watch. Also show only is the scene of Littlefinger giving sex tips to Ros girls and another new whore, and then reminiscing about his childhood infatuation with Catelyn Tully and his lost duel to Brandon Stark, a replacement for Catelyn's cut flashback during the trial at the Eyrie. And the scene where Theon Greyjoy tries to talk down to Asher the Wildling and fails, followed by Maester Luwin questioning her about why she and her companions had tried to flee south, disbelieving her warnings about White Walkers. And Benjen Stark's horse returning riderless to the wall, much to Jon's distress. Quite a bit added to this episode it seems, though none of it appears to lead the plot too far astray from the books. Being of a superstitious nature, Eddard asked Cersei to join him in front of a weirwood tree so the old gods could witness their conversation as he accused her of incest. I don't think we ever see the King's Landing Godswood in this show now that I think about it. There's some minor changes to who graduated into the Night's Watch and who was assigned to which department, as in the book not everyone was ready to leave training at the same time, the show combined a few characters, and they skipped over the previously mentioned appeal Jon made to Maester Aemon to pull Sam out of Thorne's clutches. As Ser Jorah Mormont isn't a point of view character, if he was given a royal pardon at the exact same moment as the assassination he had helped to set up was going down, causing him a brief moment of indecision before he decided he was all in with the Dragon Princess, we'll never know about it. Even though he's not in this episode very much, as usual Renly gets the short end of the stick adaptation-wise, as he seems to lose his cool several times where his book counterpart was agitated but dignified. Because of the nature of most two-screen adaptations we are denied access to the inside of Ned's head, they drop the line where Eddard promises to protect Robert's children as if they were his own, while secretly deciding that he was referring to the bastards like Gendry and not Cersei's little lies, instead swearing to honour Robert's memory and avoiding mention of his children altogether. For a character who was nicknamed Fat Tom in the books, they didn't go out of their way to cast a particularly large actor. This character originally died in the throne room with the rest of Ned's guards before he could deliver the letter he's given for Stannis, but we learn in season 2 of the show that he apparently made it to Dragonstone, but then apparently just disappeared because we never see him again. It's a small and probably unimportant change, I will admit, but Littlefinger was supposed to snatch the formerly his Valyrian steel knife from Eddard's belt and hold that to his throat in the throne room scene. I believe there was some symbolism in him using the knife that caused a war to betray Lord Stark.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win, or you die.
During their meeting in the book, where Ned asks Cersei how she had never gotten pregnant by Robert in all these years, she admits that she had once, but she'd been so disgusted by the idea of his baby growing inside her, she'd had Jaime find a medicine woman who could make her a drink that caused abortions. If you'll remember, this contradicts what she said in episode 2 of the show about being super upset about her black-haired child who had died in infancy. The show also left out Cersei's subsequent half-hearted attempt to seduce Ned into joining her camp and his firm rebuffal. In the book, Daenerys thought to ask Jorah how he knew the wine merchant was trying to kill her, and he quickly explains that he was just being overly paranoid because he'd just that moment gotten word that King Robert had offered a lordship to whoever kills her and her brother Viserys. Dany cannot help but laugh, slightly hysterically, about the fact that this means that by rights, Robert technically owed Drogo a noble title. Once you think about it, it does seem odd that Dany never questioned how Jorah seemed to psychically know the wine merchant's ill intent out of nowhere in the show. While in a state of distress after this, Daenerys is overcome with the desire to put her dragon eggs in a fire, though she's not sure why this makes her feel better, a scene that was moved to earlier in the show to show off the heat resistance they decided she had. And during all this, Drogo was away from the city hunting a type of huge white lion in the Great Plain surrounding it, and comes back with a massive furry skin to make a cloak for Dany out of. The show skipped over Littlefinger's much longer, and in my opinion better, pitch to Eddard about why putting Stannis on the throne would be a bad idea, and lead to unnecessary war and suffering for the Seven Kingdoms. Stannis had apparently opposed the idea of any pardons being made for anyone who fought for King Aerys during the war with the Mad King, and anyone who helped the Greyjoys in their failed rebellion. Littlefinger predicted he would either wage war on them when he was crowned, or they would preemptively attack to avoid retribution. Either way, everyone would have to pick sides again, and it would be a bad time all round.
The Dom's final thoughts. So, as I mentioned, a fair amount of new stuff added, but as usual, it's mostly just fleshing out the off-screen activities of non-POV characters. Jon Snow still has a habit of pouting a bit more than his book counterpart, but it's hard to resent Kit Harington when he does such a good job in the role, and in general, stellar performances from a great cast that really bring the book characters to life in a fun way. Once again, please remember this isn't an endorsement of how they adapted every season, just this first one. Despite her sitting an entire episode out, the time disparity between when Daenerys' plot was supposed to be happening in relation to the rest of the events in Westeros is still quite wide, in this case making it seem like Varys was able to set up a murder plot half a world away pretty much overnight, but otherwise it's not doing too much damage to the story. All in all, still going pretty strong adaptation-wise. Not perfect, but I'm personally still impressed.
Hello again, my beautiful watchers. I just wanted to take this opportunity to give you a quick reminder that there's a wonderful website called Patreon that's been allowing online producers to actually make a living doing what they do, since apparently YouTube's decided that they shouldn't anymore. Basically, they offer the chance to pledge a certain amount of money per month or per video in exchange for various rewards offered by the creator. There's a variety of stuff you can earn by becoming one of my patrons, including early access to all videos and taking part in that survey you see at the start of every Lost in Adaptation episode. That's actually a very important part of the process, as I use it to gauge how much I'm going to need to explain about the book and the film before I start comparing them. If you decide to become a higher level contributor, your name will be added to the credits that you're seeing right now, and you'll be given the option to join my private chat room so you can regularly talk with me and other patrons. If you're keen enough to join the topmost tier of patronage, you'll earn the most coveted of all the rewards, the chance to pick a future adaptation to be reviewed by yours truly. However, if right now you are thinking, my goodness the Dom, I can't do that, I was going to. I found a magic lamp that granted me 3 wishes, and I meant to wish for infinite wealth, but, well, long story short, I have 3 jetpacks now. Fear not, it would still be a huge help to me if you were to give that like button the old clickaroo, share this episode on social media with perhaps a little recommendation to your friends to check it out, and subscribe if you've not already. It really helps my channel grow and reach new beautiful watchers. I hope you have a most pleasant day, and I will see you in the next episode.